The paper felt expensive between my fingers. Cream-colored, gold-embossed letterhead, the kind of stationery people use when they want you to feel grateful. But my eyes had already found the number at the bottom of the page. $127,000. My entire life savings. The authorization form trembled slightly, not from the ceiling fan above my kitchen table, but from my own hands, which had gone cold despite the Texas heat pressing against the windows. I traced my fingertip over my father's signature at the bottom. Gerald Whitmore. Confident strokes, no hesitation. He'd already signed his part, assuming I'd fill in the rest. That's when something shifted behind my ribs. Not the sharp crack of heartbreak. I'd already been broken by these people. This was different. Quieter. The soft click of a lock sliding into place. My name is Naomi Hayes. I'm 34, a senior accountant at a firm that handles estates worth more than my family ever dreamed of. And this is the story of how I finally stopped being their emergency fund. I set the document down slowly, smoothing the creases from where I'd gripped it too tight. Next to it sat a thick manila folder, 8 years of records I'd told myself I was keeping just in case. Call logs, wire transfer receipts, unanswered text messages time-stamped and printed, every dollar I'd sent into silence, cataloged like evidence. Because numbers don't lie. Numbers don't rewrite history. My family did. The last time I heard my father's voice before that envelope arrived was during a voicemail I'd left him. I'd just earned my first real promotion, junior accountant at Morrison & Blake in Denver. Not glamorous, but it was mine. 3 years of 70-hour weeks, cold coffee, missed buses, and fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. I called him 4 times that week. Every call rolled to voicemail. A week later, I was eating a sad desk salad when I opened Facebook. 47 people had gathered at my brother Dylan's graduation party. Balloons shaped like champagne bottles, a 3-tier cake with his face printed on the frosting. My father's arm draped across Dylan's shoulders, both of them laughing at something the photographer said. I scrolled through every photo twice, looking for the one where someone noticed I wasn't there. It didn't exist. I mailed Dylan a card anyway, tucked a $500 check inside, wrote "proud of you" in my neatest handwriting, and waited for something small in return. A text, a voicemail, proof that I registered. The check cleared in 3 days. I know because I checked my account every morning and night, like it was a ritual I couldn't stop. Nothing came back. That's when I started the folder, not to punish them, to protect my own sanity. Every missed call, every unanswered message, every wire transfer that disappeared without acknowledgement. I felt embarrassed doing it at first, like I was building a case against people who were supposed to love me. But after a while, the folder became its own kind of comfort. Cold, clear, undeniable. Dylan only ever called when he needed money. The first time, it was $8,000, a startup, some app that would change everything. 6 months, he promised. I'll pay you back with interest. I wired it from my savings that afternoon, imagining a future where he'd finally see me as more than a safety net. The app collapsed 4 months later. When I asked about repayment, I got a text. Things are tight. You understand. I did. I always did. My stepmother, Candace, reached out 2 years later, her first message since I'd left for college. The screen lit up with her name and my hands actually shook. Emergency roof damage from a storm, she wrote. Your father's credit is maxed. Please help. Family. I sent $15,000, half my emergency fund, gone in 48 hours. 2 months after that, Candace posted a photo on Instagram. She was leaning against a pearl-white Lexus, smiling like she'd won something. The caption read, "Birthday gift to myself. Blessed." I zoomed in on the background. The roof looked exactly the same. By then, the total had crossed $23,000, not counting birthday cards that went unacknowledged, not counting Christmas gifts that vanished into silence, not counting what hope had cost me, which couldn't be measured in receipts. 14 months passed without a single word from any of them. During that silence, I made 17 calls. Each one dissolved into voicemail. I adjusted my tone every time. Cheerful, then concerned, then careful, then finally honest. I just want to know if I did something wrong. Voicemail. That Christmas, I sent gift cards through tracked mail, delivered December 21st at 2:47 p.m. Signature required. Signed for by C. Whitmore. Nothing came back, no reply, no acknowledgement, no proof I still existed to them. And then the cream-colored envelope arrived. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on my counter for 3 hours, watching it like it might explain itself. I later learned they'd tracked me through a return address on one of my birthday cards. A small mistake in a decade of hoping they cared. When I finally slid my finger under the seal, I smelled my father's cologne. Something woodsy and expensive. The same scent he wore when he walked me down the aisle at my aunt's wedding because my date had canceled. The party invitation came first, Gerald Whitmore's 65th birthday celebration. Grand Palazzo Hotel, Houston, black tie optional. Behind it, folded neatly, was the authorization form. Sterling Investments, LLC, $127,000, non-refundable if the project failed. My colleague Marcus ran the public filings for me the next morning. His face told me everything before he spoke. "They're underwater," he said, sliding his laptop across the conference table. 3 contractor lawsuits, bank deadlines April 20th. He paused. "That's 5 days after the party." I stared at the numbers on his screen. They needed $150,000 to survive. I had $127,000 in savings. Every dollar I'd earned alone, without their help, without their acknowledgement, without a single phone call that didn't end in a request. "You're not actually considering this," Marcus said. I bought the plane ticket that afternoon, not to rescue them, to see the truth with my own eyes. The Grand Palazzo glittered like a lie someone had polished until it shone. 87 guests filled the ballroom. I counted them while pretending to study the ice sculpture. My father stood at the center of everything. Perfect charcoal suit, easy smile, shaking hands like a man without a single contractor lawsuit pending. Candace floated beside him in emerald silk. Dylan nursed champagne near the bar, laughing at something a woman in diamonds had said. Candace spotted me first. Her smile flickered, then reset. "Oh," she said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "You actually came." My father turned. For a moment, something crossed his face. Surprise, maybe, or calculation. Then he opened his arms and pulled me into a hug that smelled like cologne and performance. "My daughter," he said into my hair, just loud enough for the photographer to capture. "It's been too long." Before I could respond, a spotlight hit the stage. My father released me and strode toward the microphone like he'd been waiting for his cue. "Tonight," he announced, "my daughter Naomi has finally come home." Applause erupted. I felt it wash over me. Warm, welcoming, completely hollow. He wasn't celebrating my return. He was establishing my presence for the audience, for whatever came next. The side parlor was smaller than the ballroom, quieter, with the kind of heavy curtains that muffle sound. My father guided me there with a hand on my elbow, the pressure just firm enough to feel like direction rather than force. A table waited inside. Candace and Dylan were already seated, and at the center, illuminated by a brass lamp, sat the authorization form. "Sit down, sweetheart," my father said. "We need to discuss Sterling Heights." I didn't sit. I picked up the document instead, flipping to the second page, then the third. Non-refundable. No equity stake. No legal recourse if the project collapsed. "It's temporary," he continued, settling into the chair across from me like we were negotiating a business deal. "Cash flow issue. The bank deadline is Monday morning. That gives us 5 days. Sign tonight and you'll double your return within 18 months. I photographed the page. The flash was brighter than I expected. Candace's voice sharpened instantly. "What are you doing?" "Reading," I said. "I read contracts before I signed them. Professional habit." "This is family," Dylan said, the first words he'd spoken to me in over a year. "You don't need a contract for family." I looked at him. Really looked. For the first time since I'd arrived. He was thinner than his Instagram photos suggested. The champagne glass in his hand was nearly empty, and his eyes kept darting toward the door like he was calculating escape routes. "Family," I repeated. "When was the last time you called me, Dylan? Not to ask for money, just to talk." He didn't answer. My father leaned forward, and I recognized the expression on his face. It was the same one he'd worn when I was 16, and he'd explained why he couldn't afford to send me to the summer program I'd been accepted to, 2 weeks before Dylan got a new car for his birthday. "Naomi," he said, his voice dropping into something that was supposed to sound gentle. "I know we haven't been perfect, but this is about survival, the family legacy, everything I've built." "Everything you've built," I said, "on credit you can't repay." Candace stood up. The movement was sudden enough that her chair scraped against the floor. "If you refuse," she said, "everyone out there will know. Everyone will see what kind of daughter abandons her own father." There it was, not an appeal, a threat. She walked to the parlor door and pulled it open wide. Her voice carried into the ballroom like she'd practiced the projection. "Everyone, I'm so sorry to interrupt." She pressed a hand to her chest, trembling just enough to look distressed. "But Naomi refuses to help her own father." Murmurs spread through the crowd like ripples. Faces turned toward the doorway, toward me, and I watched their expressions shift from curiosity to pity to judgment in the span of 3 seconds. My father stood behind Candace, silent, waiting. I felt the weight of the folder in my bag, 8 years of records, call logs, wire receipts, timestamps, and silence. If I walked away now, I'd leave as the villain they needed me to be, the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family at their lowest moment. If I spoke, I'd end the role they'd assigned me forever. I walked toward the stage. The microphone was still warm from my father's speech. I'd noticed earlier that the event coordinator had left the display system unlocked, the kind of oversight that happens at rushed events. "My name is Naomi Hayes," I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. "I'd like 5 minutes." Candace surged forward. "Naomi, this isn't appropriate." "It is," I replied, connecting my phone to the ballroom's display screen. "You made it public." The first slide appeared behind me, a bank statement from January 2017. "This is an $8,000 wire transfer," I said. "I sent this to my brother Dylan for a startup that failed 4 months later. No repayment." Another slide, March 2021. $15,000, emergency roof repairs. I paused. 2 months later, Candace posted this. The Instagram photo filled the screen. Pearl white Lexus, blessed. Someone near the bar set down their glass. "Over the past 8 years," I continued, "I've sent this family $23,000. I made 288 phone calls, all outgoing, all unanswered. No thank yous, no visits, no returned calls." I changed the slide again. Public court filings appeared in stark black and white. "Sterling Heights," I said. 12 luxury townhomes, 7 months behind schedule, 3 lawsuits from unpaid contractors, $280,000 outstanding. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. An older man near the front, one of my father's investors, I'd later learn, leaned forward in his seat. "And this," I said, pulling up the photo I'd taken in the parlor, "is what they asked me to sign tonight." The authorization form filled the screen. I'd highlighted the non-refundable clause in yellow. "They didn't invite me here because they missed me," I said. "They invited me because they need $127,000 by Monday morning. That's everything I've saved. Every dollar I earned alone, without their help, without acknowledgement, without a single phone call that wasn't a request for money." Candace rushed toward the stage. "She's twisting everything." "I'm reading your documents," I said. "Public records, bank statements, the contract you asked me to sign." I turned toward my father. He was still standing near the parlor door, frozen in a way I'd never seen before. "You haven't called me in 8 years," I said, "but you found my address when you needed my savings." He didn't answer. The investor near the front stood up. His voice cut through the whispers like a knife. "You owe contractors $280,000, he said. "And you throw a party like this?" Another guest stood and walked toward the exit. Then another. Then a small wave of them, gathering coats and murmuring apologies to no one in particular. I faced the remaining crowd one last time. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," I said. "I came to stop being lied about." I picked up the authorization form from where I'd left it on the table. Slowly, deliberately, I tore it in half, then again. This is my answer. I placed the pieces on the table and walked out. Behind me, the music never restarted. 2 hours later, sitting at my gate at Houston Intercontinental, I finally let myself breathe. The Houston night air had hit my face like something clean when I'd stepped outside the hotel. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying their silence. I wasn't wondering what I'd done wrong. I wasn't waiting for a phone call that would never come. At the airport, Marcus texted me a link. Someone had filmed the entire speech. It was already spreading. 3 months later, Sterling Heights collapsed. The bank called the loan. The project went into foreclosure. Investors scattered. My father's name stopped opening doors. My father called once, 3 days after the party. I let it go to voicemail. He never left a message, and he never called again. Candace's social calendar emptied next. The charity board stopped calling. The Lexus disappeared from her Instagram. Then her Instagram disappeared entirely. Dylan got his first real job, night shift at a warehouse distribution center, $12 an hour, no safety net, no shortcuts. And me? 6 weeks after that night, Naomi Hayes legally became Violet Monroe, my grandmother's maiden name, the last person in my family who loved me without conditions, who called just to hear my voice, who never asked for anything but my company. New city, new phone number, a small apartment with windows that caught the morning light and a mailbox that only held my own mail. I stopped sending messages into silence, stopped confusing obligation with love, stopped shrinking myself to fit the space they'd assigned me. My savings rebuilt slowly, not through miracles, through budgets, overtime, and steady breathing. Every dollar protected by the only signature that mattered, my own. Peace didn't arrive loudly. It didn't announce itself with trumpets or vindication. It simply stayed, quiet, steady, present. Not because I won, because I finally stopped financing a lie. Family isn't blood. It's consistency. It's showing up without a transaction attached. It's returning phone calls because you want to hear someone's voice, not because you need their bank account. I didn't lose a family that night at the Grand Palazzo. I finally stopped pretending I had one. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like someone's emergency fund instead of their family, tell me in the comments. Your story matters too. And if you want more stories about boundaries, self-worth, and choosing yourself without apology, subscribe to the channel. Echoes of Life will be here with you. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.